So for this class, we're going to be building a big project. And that project is going to be something that you kind of make up to start with. There's some suggestions out there, but the more detail you can add to the project, the easier it's going to be for you. So my recommendation is to pick something you're familiar with, something that you have a good idea what the end product already looks like. If you're making up too much along the way, it's going to make it more difficult as you go. So I would look ahead at the assignments, and as you're picking a project in the next week or so, pick a project that's going to make sure you can get through all those phases. Don't pick something you feel like you need to build a 50-page document to get it done. I don't need to see that much. You should be able to scope something. It doesn't mean that you need a small project, but you need to pick a small part of a bigger project if that's the case. So as I said, if you were going to say eBay as an example, don't pick all of eBay. Just pick one aspect. I want to build and test a person adding the thing to sell onto the website and managing the list of sales they have out there. That's good enough. Okay. I don't need to do adding an item and selling an item and shipping an item and bidding on items and returning in points and all that stuff. That's too much at that point. We'll kind of allude to those things. We want to have the bigger context out there, but part of our project needs to be detailed as well. There's something with real screens and something with real behaviors that I can go look at. And so the class, the assignment talks about picking your path, where you can pick a commercial off the shelf. That's what COTS mean, or a contract software. You can do something in a data warehouse world, or more simply a web app, which can include mobile phone apps these days or things like that. This gives you some baseline to run with, and it aligns from the book and the types of different testing they talk about. But what's most important is picking something that's interesting to you and that you know and relate to. You need to understand the functionality that's going to be accomplished. You need to be able to imagine screens and user actions and reports and other things, because at some point you have to build step by step inputs and expected outputs. Don't just completely deal in abstraction, because that's going to make your life easier. Ironically enough, if you get specific now and spend a little bit extra time now thinking of some details, some of this stuff will fall out very quickly and easily, particularly if you write a use case up front here. Use cases are pretty easy to construct. They kind of force you to be detailed and think in detailed ways, and that means the test cases automatically just kind of fall out of them. A use case is kind of like saying, hey, the user is going to go to the screen and they're going to see these fields, and then they're going to type these things in, and they're going to hit next, and they're going to see this other screen and with these other fields, and they'll hit next, and they're going to see this other screen, and they'll drag and drop these things, and then they're finished. Okay, that's kind of cool. And then the test cases, instead of just saying they're going to see these things, you give real values. They're going to see the phone model, the screen size, and the number of people on the phone plan. Okay, and more than that, the phone model is going to be the Samsung S8, and the screen size is 3.6 inches, and number of people on the plan is 3. So being very specific. And so that's what you'll see going forward as you pick your plan. So in this class, we're going to be asked to write requirements. So you should have something you can write from. And if you have something in a project you've worked on before, that's okay too. If you've taken the requirements class and want to reuse some of that stuff, that's fine. We're going to be creating test plans at high levels and low levels. So we need some features that we can talk about at a broad level and do some requirements traceability on. And we need something that we can get down and create a test case in some detail on as well. We're going to be doing a lot of traceability documentation, and we're going to do a regression test plan later on. And as we'll figure out, regression test plans happen at a specific point in time in the project. They're not just a thing I plan at the beginning for. It's something that says, okay, in the 7th week of this testing cycle, we were going to do a regression test plan based off of our iterative test schedule. So in week 7, we'll be working on everything that was tested in phase 1, but now we have a second release, and we're going to regression test everything in the first release to make sure it still works. as an example. So it's a very contextualized thing. It could be something like, hey, we're going to be upgrading the operating system from Windows 7 to Windows 10. We just want to make sure everything still works. Okay, that's what a regression test plan is. And then we'll talk about a schedule as well. So those are all the things that you're going to be asked to do. There's a lot to do in this class, and so we have to take it one step at a time. So if you aren't busy right now in the start of the new year, you might want to work ahead a little bit and start planning a little bit. If you wait too long, you're going to get to like week 3.5, week 4, and there's going to be like 100 things to get done that week. Because the way this class is structured, it's really kind of mid-loaded to back-loaded. The last week's actually quite simple, but that week 3, week 4, you're writing all the requirements, then you're writing all the tests at that point. And so the more you can look at this now, the easier that will be. And there's actually a guide out there to help you with that. Look for the outline out there in the instructors, the learning documents out there, and that will help you because that'll have inside of there each one of the phases and when things are expected to be done in an outline, as well as a little description I put in of what I'm looking for in there. So that's something else you can look at.